Hi, Mike Kennedy, M005 Kennedy with you today, and we're looking at some retro tech. In other words, some older things to do with film photography or other things that are really still useful today. This is my Kodak Dayload tank, and this is a really neat contraption. I've used this a number of times, and it really works well. This is a developing tank that, let me unlock it so we can take it apart and look at it, that is completely loaded. You can process film without a darkroom with this. You can see it has a tank, it has the reel, and it has, not only does it have a place for the cartridge, it has a cutter in it too. So how do we use it? It's very simple. First you would just lock it, then you hit load, and this pulls out. This would be where you would put the cartridge. Well, sorry, I kind of misspoke there. Now this depends, and I'll tell you how you have to adapt your picture taking to make this work perfect, because you do have to a little, okay? Back when cameras were young, you needed a big film leader to go across the back of the film. The camera door was open, so you could count on there being this big hunk, maybe 4 to 5 inches at least of film that would be exposed and would be no good. So what you would do is you put your film on here, and there has to be some of the leader still sticking out. And if your film doesn't have a leader sticking out, they actually have leader retrieval tools that you can use, that you don't have to use a darkroom to get going, to pull that thing out. It's a common thing they used at mini labs all the time. But anyway, you would put your film on here, you would put it in here, and then you would take the film out through here, and you'd string it in here, down under this little metal flange, and then under this piece of metal, and you can see you'd pull this metal like that, and then it would lock it. It would be tight there. Then you would take the film. So again, if you're using a typical point and shoot camera from today and not an SLR with a wide base on it, you would purposely shoot not essential frames that you were going to lose, because you're going to expose some of them here. With an older camera, you won't be doing that. Okay, then you just put it in. You put it over. You would lock this in. Then you would actually wind this. It's got a complete set of directions. We'll show you some of the pictures too. You would wind this. Then you would, till the film is, till this eventually stops, because the film's connecting to the cartridge inside here, and it's connected here, and it's all wound up now. In those spirals, you go over to here, develop, that cuts the film, and then you can, and it also provides a light seal there. So now you have a tank where you can pour in chemicals and pour out chemicals. Now let's look at this. And this is just going to show kind of what I said, but I hate just looking at pictures when you could show how you do something. But see, here's what I was talking about. Most film used to have this long leader part, and this tongue would be very long too for loading. Now typically you could cut this straight on a camera, and it would expose, a new modern point and shoot would expose everything except that one little space. So, but here you go. They've take the magazine knob out, open it up. You put the film in. Sorry for this on there. You put the film in. You put the leader under the metal thing, lock it with the metal roller. Then you go back. You turn the knob. Here they are. Turn the knob, cuts it, take out the cartridge, and then you pour in your chemicals. And then, of course, the same thing you wound it with, you agitate it with. Now, then they show you washing it, dumping chemicals out and things. So there's one other thing you have to do to make this really work good for today's photography, and that is it takes more than 8 ounces to fill it. You know, if you have a typical stainless steel reel, it will only take 8 ounces of chemistry to fill it. This takes more. Let's see. I think, oh, I should have had that number. I should have had that number, but okay. It does, will process 24 by 36 exposure black and whites, so it does both. Oh, it says 24 by 36 millimeter, so it might not do 36s. That would be interesting to check. I think I've done a 36 in it before. Let's see. It's funny, they're recommending, Kodak Microdollar developers recommended for use with this tank. Tells you the agitation techniques you use, and I don't seem to see that right now, but I know it takes I think it takes 16 ounces instead of 8 ounces to fill this tank because it's so much broader. Okay, I'll just go with that. But so this was made in who knows when. Oh, of course there's no date on the brochure. They didn't usually do that. It says 849-GPSER. I don't know. Sounds like this would be, could have been made in 49, I don't know. Or at least the thing printed. But anyway, here's some Retrotech that's really good, still uses. Oh, one other tip if you have this is, some cameras reverse wind. In other words, when the film is on the supply side, it goes to the take-up side, and instead of winding it with the same way the film curls, it winds it the other way. This depends on the film being wound, the film curl. So if you have a camera like one of mine that does the reverse wind, what you have to do is leave it in the cartridge for a day or two to reestablish that curl so it will load easier. Because if you don't, it's not going to fit into the guides here. The guides, you know, it's all about fitting into these channels and guides, and without that natural film curl, it's not going to do it that well. And so, like I say, this is a really, I think this is a really neat tool. One could say it wastes chemistry a little bit because you can't rinse it as well. So when you drain the developer out and put the fixer in, there's probably going to be more developer carryover to the fixer. So you may not want to use your fixer as many times as you might be used to. You may want to wash it longer, and actually when you wash it, what I've done is sometimes is just taken the whole thing out, because you know, once you're at the wash stage, once black and white film is light sensitive until it's fixed, and it isn't light sensitive anymore. So at that point, when you're getting ready to wash the film, you take the whole thing out and set it in something and allow it to wash that way. Now, I hadn't tried, but I would like to for this experiment, and I might is using a monobath. What's a monobath? A monobath, believe it or not, has both the developer and fixer together in one solution. So you pour the one solution in, you agitate, wait so long, you dump it out, and you wash it. And so that would be a nice, quick and dirty way to get film processed. Monobaths aren't necessarily the highest quality things, so you'd probably want to use finer grain film so you wouldn't see the graininess and some of the other things that happen. And it's all a matter of, gee, I'm kind of going off track, I always do, but here's some film chemistry. With a monobath, it's a balance between, you have a fixer that's very slow and a developer that's very fast. So what happens in that solution is it develops all the silver that's exposed, then that developer runs out, that action runs out, and then the action of the fixer takes over and does that. So it's kind of like a develop fast, fix slow type thing. But the overall length of the whole procedure isn't that long, but the developing has to be a lot faster than the fixing. So there you have it, some nice Retrotech you can use. I honestly have had this forever, so I haven't looked up a price of what it would cost you nowadays, but it's that Bakelite material, and Bakelite can crack and stuff, so if you get one, make sure it looks okay inside, outside, make sure the seal's okay. There is a little kind of seal here, but there's a ball bearing. I guess it isn't really a seal, there's a ball bearing here. I shouldn't have said seal, but that's just a thing to keep it in place. But so there you go. Mike Kennedy with you today saying go develop some film.